So numbers are going to be released later on, as always, but what sort of a morning are we in for, can you say?
Mate, I don't get to see the numbers before crisis committee meeting, and that's later on this morning and before the announcement by the Premier. But they've been stubborn. That's probably the word that I use, that they've been stubborn. They seem to be hovering around the same sort of area in the low 20s, up to 30. The key here is not just the raw numbers and the total numbers, it's the amount of people that are still left in the community roaming around and haven't been in isolation. And even after yesterday's numbers, there are only 6 or 7 that were in that category, and they're the numbers that we're more focused on. It's in relation to how transmissible this infection is, and if they are in isolation, then we're more comfortable. But right now, as the Premier has touched on, it's touch and go about what we do later in the week, and we'll be making those decisions in the next couple of days.
What's your feeling?
Oh, look, I've been part of this crisis committee as a standing member for the whole period, 18 months, and what we're looking at the data at the moment is very different to what we saw with the first strain. The Delta strain is so infectious, so transmissible and contagious, where once upon a time in a household, only 30% of the members would probably catch it if someone was tested positive. Today, it's 100% of the household. So you can see that we're dealing with a different set of numbers, and that, in my gut feel at the moment, is a 50-50 call. It's important the next couple of days what the numbers look like.
So it would be a long shot. I'm picking up some doubt here. So it'd be a long shot that we would move out of restrictions this week.
No, not at all. I mean, to be honest, moving out of restrictions was always our priority. It was going to be a 14-day lockdown, and that's the target still. I don't think that there's at this stage cause for alarm, but we will be looking at that data, and the next couple of days will really make it really set it in play.
Just on these penalties for the Dragons, John, did the NRL go hard enough?
Yeah, look, absolutely. Big fines, suspensions, and of course for Paul Warne, who was at the heart of this, who should have known better, a significant fine and a significant suspension period. This sends a clear message to everybody in our community that the rules apply to all of us, regardless if you're a rugby league professional or if you're just a humble person from the community. It all applies to all of us, exactly the same rules. And look, I think they've sent a clear message. The NRL has been, in one way, set the standard last year about how to put in place the protocols to run the league. What you don't want is a couple of bullfeds to wreck it.
Well, one of them has come in for some sharp criticism, being Jack de Belin, who was hiding under a bed as the cops arrived at the property. What was your initial thought when you heard that story?
Yeah, look, I don't know how much truth there is, but if it's true that he was hiding under bed, others in wardrobes, the truth here is if you've made the mistake front up, that's your first action, and to try and avoid scrutiny and the penalty, in my mind, really sets the sort of tone of the individual. And look, at the end of the day, they've all been caught, they're all been fined, they'll be serving suspensions. The NRL has showed clear leadership here, and good on them.
Okay. There are now 2 hospitals that are going to be without 600 health staff because of close contact with an unvaccinated nurse, John. How is that hospital, or how are those hospitals going to operate with that kind of shortfall?
Well, it's the reality of what we're facing. That's how quick this thing can happen. You get an infected person in a hospital, everyone becomes a close contact, and the next minute you're in isolation, like many of us are. Living out the 14-day isolation period. Look, our health sector have done a wonderful job over the 18 months, and what they'll do is they'll resource the hospitals as they require. They'll pull staff from other hospitals. There's no question this will put strain on it and put more pressure on those nurses, those hospital staff, our doctors, all those allied health professionals. But the reality is that we will be able to function, and we'll do that by, of course, managing our staff and our resources. But it's a reminder how quickly this can escalate. 600 staff out of one hospital, or we heard yesterday with an aged care facility, going 2/3 of their staff in isolation. So this is proof why we've had to come down hard on lockdowns, why we're being very tough on people who want to break the rules, and we'll keep doing that.
Why was the nurse unvaccinated, do you know?
Look, I don't know, but student nurses, as I understand, are Category 1B and are entitled to be frontline. They are frontline staff, and they can go to the top of the queue when it comes to vaccination. It isn't mandated, but it is something that we're working with staff and unions to make sure a bit more of our staff get vaccinated.
When you've got situations like that, and you've also got that party at the Meriton, are they examples of the fact that perhaps your government didn't go hard enough or haven't gone hard enough?
Well, we've been criticised about the lockdown, and then we've criticised that we haven't gone hard enough, early enough. I mean, like I've said this before, hindsight is a beautiful thing, and there's no playbook or rulebook that actually maps this out for us. And this particular variant is acting very different to the very first strain, and therefore it's just difficult to make these calls. So we make it with the best advice in front of us. We've made those decisions. We are in lockdown. The numbers are stubborn, but at the same time, what happened with the St George players at Meriton, what happens at Bondi Beach or some of our parks. People are breaching the rules. We have stay-home orders in place. People are allowed to leave their home and exercise, but you aren't able to congregate and catch up with friends and sit on the park bench. These rules are in place for a reason, and they've been set in place by the experts. So the message to everybody is just to do the right thing.
Yes. So just finally, are you still happy with that balance?
I'm happy with the balance we've got in place now. As we get to Friday, we'll revisit that and see what else we can do, what other freedoms we may put in place, if the lockdown continues, any other restrictions or not. The balance is right for where we are in the cycle. What we don't want is to get out early or to make decisions that affect us, that we end up in lockdown again in the future. I don't think businesses and the community, the mental wellbeing and health of our community, actually can have another lockdown. So this has got to be our last lockdown. And that's what will drive the decisions going forward.
Okay. John Barilaro, thanks for your time this morning. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.